humans appeared in the final moments of the cosmic calendar, spanning over 14 billion years. According to recent research, traces of the current humans are found up to 300,000 years ago, whereas traces of beings resembling humans are found up to millions of years ago. The theory of evolution and these discoveries of the ancient human fossils form the basis for the claim that the religious notions of human creation, especially in Abrahamic religions about Adam, have no validity, and they are nothing but a story narrated in religious scriptures. Much more than that, it is said that the theory of evolution has eliminated the concept of God. But is this really the case? While elucidating the stages of human creation in The Human Story, we will also examine this question today. The glorious Quran makes it clear in several places regarding the creation of humans that God Almighty created humans from dust. Before discussing this further, it is essential to understand why the glorious Quran repeatedly stresses this point. The reason was the disbelievers' objection to how God Almighty could bring those dead to life who had already died and mixed with dust. It is this objection that God Almighty replies to, stating that He had also created humans from dust the first time.
منها خلقناكم وفيها نعيدكم ومنها نخرجكم تارة أخرى.
From this very earth we have created you. To it we shall return you, and from it bring you out again. The glorious Quran, to remove people's astonishment about its claim, explains to them that you have not seen human beings created from dust, but you witness new humans being born every day. In the initial stages of development in the mother's womb, the human starts as a drop of water, turns into a clot of blood, and eventually takes the shape of a piece of flesh about which it is unimaginable at first glance that this thing can become a human. However, this miracle unfolds before your eyes, as this drop of water, the clot of blood, and a piece of flesh becomes a complete, living human being. The glorious Quran explains this point, stating that the same entity that creates millions of humans daily from the womb of the mother, why can it not make the humans buried in dust stand when he had created them from the same dust the first time too? The day of resurrection is the name of the day when the dead will be raised from their graves. Due to that similarity, it has been given this name, the day of the dead to come back to life and rise. Even though the glorious Quran mentions the creation of humans from dust at various places, there is a specific point where it has been clarified that the process began with his creation from dust. Then, passing through several stages, the current human came into being. It is he who has excelled in the creation of everything. He began creating a human being from clay, then carried on his progeny from an insignificant fluid, then perfected it and blew into it from his spirit. And for you, made ears for hearing, eyes for seeing, and hearts for understanding. Seldom are you grateful. In contrast to common religious beliefs, the glorious Quran does not suggest that God Almighty created an effigy from dust one day and then breathed a soul into it. According to the glorious Quran, the current human has been created after having been made to pass through 3 stages. The first stage is when humans were created directly from dust.
In the first stage, God created the animal form of the human, and that animal form, obviously, did not have the personality that was given to Adam and Eve.
The second stage is when the ability for sexual reproduction was created in him, leading to the furtherance of his offspring through it.
The general law of God, that as we observe, is that when He creates a lot of people, He creates them in such a large number that their very multitude becomes a source of their protection, and then they also choose such places where the environment contributes towards their protection.
The third stage is where this initial human was gradually refined physically through continuous sexual union, till such time the current human came into being.
So, the Lord who created them can also arrange for their protection. After all, animals' babies are born. They are born in the jungles, and many predators want to hunt them. But does their birth stop? They are hunted, and yet they survive, grow up, and thereafter they enliven this world and become a source of its beauty.
After that, the act of blowing the soul took place, resulting in the emergence of human consciousness, and the intellectual capacity for thinking and understanding took place in this animal being. This very intellect is the distinguishing characteristic of the human because of which he rules over other living beings.
After creating this animal form, obviously, there could be dozens of people born from them. They were put through a process of refinement and purification, and when they were perfected from every angle, 2 of them were chosen and given human personalities. The Quran states that they were placed in a garden under the supervision of angels. For Adam and Eve, special arrangements were made so that they were protected and could begin their lives in peace. However, as long as the animal process behind them continued, there was no need for protection. They kept being born. They must have been hunted by other animals, and some must have survived.
The statements of the glorious Quran have 2 most important and fundamental characteristics. The first is that it affirms the statements of previous heavenly scriptures about human creation from dust. Secondly, casting aside the human additions made in the earlier scriptures, it brings forth a different explanation of the modern scientific discoveries that is rational and acceptable from every aspect. In this history, the fundamental role was played by that aggressive attitude of the Christian Church, which obstructed human freedom and modern scientific research. Similarly, Europe's clergy introduced some religious narratives that eventually first became the cause of the denial of religion, and ultimately the denial of God for modern humans. For example, the centrality of the Earth in the universe, the notion that the Earth was created 6,000 years ago, or the Bible's narrative about the 6 days of the creation of beings ending in the evening and beginning in the morning. Time has proven that neither is the Earth center of the universe, nor this world was made in 6 days, having mornings and evenings, nor did life and other creatures come into being 6,000 years ago. However, when these and such like narratives were presented in the name of religion and God, they took modern humans to the denial of God. The reason is that even one incorrect statement attributed to God is sufficient to make God's entity doubtful. God cannot make a mistake, and the one who makes a mistake cannot be God. However, the perceptions that led to the development of a mindset to deny God were not God's statements but human additions and mistakes of human understanding or translation. Whereas the perfection of the Quran lies in it being a divine book, preserved from all kinds of changes that guards the previous heavenly scriptures. No narrative of the Quran clashes with any proven scientific facts. This glorious Quran is the only divine book in the world that exists in its original form, and is therefore the only authentic source to understand God. Here, it is also essential to understand that it is not even within the purview of science to deny God. It means that no laboratory experiment or sensory observation can be presented that disproves the existence of God. The fact is that the denial of God has no scientific basis. Science has only discovered the world of those laws and principles that are in action in the material world. It has not stated who organized those blind and deaf laws and mindless causes and effects in the universe, who used them to produce meaningful results and bring purposeful creations into being. The truth is that denial of God can only take place when irrefutable arguments of God's absence are presented. Current human knowledge does not allow any reasonable person to claim this. Carl Sagan expressed at this point in the context of his own person as follows: I am not an atheist. An atheist is someone who has compelling evidence that there is no Judeo-Christian Islamic God. More than half of the world's population follows Abrahamic religions and has, to a great extent, fundamental consensus on basic religious concepts, namely monotheism, prophethood, and the afterlife. Carl Sagan made a special mention of God in the Abrahamic religions, as in them, God appears as an entity who has his own existence apart from the universe. While another concept of God prevalent in polytheistic religions is that God is not a separate entity but pervades in the universe and is present in everything. Carl Sagan did not have irrefutable scientific reasons to deny God's existence, which is why he did not become an atheist. However, he also did not believe in God, because he thought there was no evidence to favor God's existence. However, we are sure if the argument of the Quran had reached him, he, as a person with a purely scientific mind, would have definitely reconsidered his viewpoint. To consider science the reason for God's denial was a mistake. This mistake began when, at the beginning of the modern era, there was a reaction against religion in the West. To reject religion principally, two fundamental obstacles concerning the origin of life and the cosmos were in the way. The first was that for the countless varieties of life on Earth visible to us, God's existence was the only explanation for them. The same God is the sole explanation for the existence of this universe adorned with the well-organized laws we see spread around us. This background gave rise to the God of the Gaps concept. It meant that knowledge-based belief in God is only as long as science cannot explain any manifestation. As science progresses and finds explanations for the manifestations of the cosmos, the need for God will continue to diminish. Just like the theory of evolution apparently solved the problem of the evolution of life from the life-universe duo. Similarly, a lot of efforts are being made nowadays to present a scientific rationale for the emergence of the universe from non-existence to get rid of this second foundation for believing in God. In this entire line of thinking, there is a fundamental flaw. When science explains how a particular task is performed and under what laws, it is taken as believing in God is no longer necessary now. Although this scientific knowledge does not negate God, it actually reveals his methodology for our understanding. The scope of science is merely to explain how a phenomenon occurs in the universe. The concept of God can be only negated based on scientific foundations when it is stated that matter possesses the inherent power and knowledge to come into existence on its own without external intervention, can formulate extraordinary laws for the functioning of the universe, can create life from matter and from life, give birth to an entity as extraordinary as the human. The present scientific knowledge does not make any such statement. Detailed discussions on this matter will be conducted in the second season of The Human Story. Our God is not the God of the gaps. He is the God of the gap. He orchestrates everything, but remains in the unseen realm himself. God is beyond material observations. He will have to be believed in based on rational evidence while he remains in the unseen realm. That is the first assertion of the Book of God, the glorious Quran. In the modern era, denial of God has become a belief, and the theory of evolution is considered to be the foundation of this belief. However, as we have clarified, even if evolution or any other theory provides an understandable scientific explanation of a natural phenomenon, it does not mean denial of God. It is not within the ambit of science or any scientific theory to deny God. The results presented in the context of the theory of evolution, even if accurate, do not have anything that proves the non-existence of God. It may be that God spread the ordinary creatures on Earth in a manner described by the evolution theory. The glorious Quran neither confirms it nor denies it. It is not even the subject of the glorious Quran. Its subject is the guidance of humans. However, there is a place where the Quran's statements seemingly clash with modern science's findings. The Quran states that God started the creation of the human from dust. On the other hand, the proponents of the evolution theory believe that humans and chimpanzees are evolutionary forms of the same animal, meaning that both have a common origin. As such, according to the theory of evolution, humans are an evolved form of a primate that, after millions of years of the influence of environmental changes, transformed into the current human species. It is not an observed fact, but a conclusion drawn based on some observations. An example of such observations is the fossils and skeletons similar to humans, which date back to a time before the emergence of modern humans. They are thought to be the initial forms of chimpanzees, etc. In this entire matter, two things should be looked at separately. One is the record of fossils, which is an established fact. The second, that humans evolved from animals, is a philosophical interpretation. This second point is not a verified fact, but only a human understanding, which could also be incorrect.
One opinion is that God created the entire universe through the process of evolution, attaching creationism with evolution. Another view is that Adam was created from clay, but evolution occurred within humans. It didn't happen that the human developed by transforming from older species. Rather, the human was directly created from clay, and after passing through certain stages, it reached the stage where he could become the present human being. This becomes a solution to explain the discovery of evolutionary fossils that the Neanderthals and other such human forms were humans created initially, but they were not complete humans. Then, at a certain stage, which is referred to as refinement, as per my respected teacher's opinion, God chose Adam and Eve for humanity after the stages of refinement.
In the first stage, God created the animal form of the human, and that animal form, obviously, did not have the personality that was given to Adam and Eve. After creating this animal form, obviously, there could be dozens of people born from them. They were put through a process of refinement and purification, and when they were perfected from every angle, two of them were chosen and given human personalities. The Quran states that they were placed in a garden under the supervision of angels.
The statement of the Quran is not at all contradictory to the first point. Rather, when the Quran states that the initial human passed through various stages to reach the present human form, it is, in a way, affirming the record of fossils. As for the second matter, stating that humans evolved, changing from a certain animal species into an advanced animal, is against the Quran's position. However, it is not an established fact, but merely an assumption presented by atheists as a proven reality. Therefore, what is against the Quran is not a scientific fact, but a human inference based on some observations. The truth is what the creator of the universe has described, and it also places another reasonable explanation of the fossil records before us. The Quranic account suggests that humans were created as humans from day one, although their initial form was significantly different from the present human. Subsequently, this form gradually improved and formed the shape of the present human. In light of this statement of the glorious Quran, these fossils are of those initial humans who were being created directly from the dust or emerged through the intermingling of different lineages. That is, they are skeletons of humans who existed before the current humans. The second point in favor of the human evolving from a monkey-like creature is the claim that the genes of humans and chimpanzees are very close and similar. However, the question is, why is there a need for genetic research to confirm this? Humans are entirely an animal form, with blood, heart, kidneys, lungs, and all organs being animalistic. It is quite possible that when God Almighty created the human form from dust, He may have utilized the gene of an existing animal that resembled humans. What is against knowledge and reason in it? If a creature arrives from another planet and sees two vehicles, it is possible it might think the new car has emerged from the old one. However, it would be its understanding, which is undoubtedly wrong. The reality is that we all know the new car did not come out of the old car. Rather, various concepts used in the old model car were incorporated during the creation of the new model car. The God who has created this vast universe and all living beings can do anything. He can create new genes specifically to create humans, or use genes of existing animals. If he has done so, how does this prove his non-existence? The glorious Quran was not created by any human sitting at home. It was revealed by the entity who said that he created the heavens and the earth. He created mountains and rivers, rained blessed water from the sky, and with this water grew gardens and crops. He created the vast, expansive sea and the shining sun above it. That same God made the day and night, the moon and the stars, the entire universe, and the amazing laws governing it. Above all, he created life from matter, and from life, he also created consciousness. If he decides to create the human from dust the first time, what rational obstacles could hinder his path? If he rises the human from the same dust and brings him back to life the second time, what rational difficulty could arise in accepting it intellectually? A question is also asked as to why a human should be considered a special creation of God. While a knowledge-based answer can be given to this question, a more compelling answer can be provided practically. For this purpose, let's go to the Badshahi Mosque in Lahore. This is Badshahi Mosque, one of the finest examples of human architectural skills. It was constructed by the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb Alamgir to commemorate his victory over the Marathas in 1673. From its construction until the next 3 centuries, it retained the status of the world's largest mosque. Several aspects of this masterpiece of Mughal architecture are clearly evident. Aurangzeb presented his vision to the architects. The architects designed a plan for the mosque that was, according to the standards of architecture, so long-lasting that even after 3 centuries, the mosque is still present in its place. Its design incorporates spirituality, beauty, and grandeur. Following this plan, workers meticulously completed the construction by placing each brick with their hands according to the design. Obviously, they were paid for their efforts, and ultimately the process of worship started in it and continues to this day. The mosque, through its construction and history, is introducing the human from various angles. Let's explore what those angles are. A human possesses a sense of his being and a spirit for survival. That is why Alamgir had it constructed as the commemoration of his victory. A human has a spiritual sense that makes him conscious of his deity and brings him tranquility in its worship. That is why this mosque was built, and people come here to worship. A human has extraordinary intellectual abilities based on which he thinks, plans, analyzes, and establishes a world of thoughts and imagination. Before the construction of the mosque, its design came into being on this basis. A human transfers his thoughts and ideas to other humans through speech and collaborates with them to work together. That is why the builders got the building made by the workers precisely following that design. In humans, the concepts of good and evil and the pursuit of justice and fairness are found. Due to that, the king paid the laborers their wages, and to this day the individuals employed here are given a salary for what they do. A human appreciates beauty. This mosque is famous for its beauty and excellence, which is why people come to see it from afar. Along with all that, if humans did not have a particular physical structure, neither could this mosque be built, nor could Alamgir and his troops have used the weapons with their hands and become victorious. Right, in front of this Badshahi mosque is the mausoleum of the renowned poet of the East, Allama Iqbal. Using the hands Alamgir used to wield the weapons and the laborers to construct the mosque, Iqbal, with those same hands, picked up the pen and created immortal verses of poetry. The Badshahi Mosque in itself is a proclamation that human is a special creation of God.
निगाहे शौक में आ पर्दाए गुमा से निकल.
If these hands didn't exist, or if they lacked the ability to turn in all directions, right, left, forward, backwards, and rotate in a circle, if the fingers couldn't bend, if there were no thumbs in the hands that provide an extraordinary grip to the hands, if the human couldn't stand upright, if a human couldn't bend his body in different ways, and if various such features were not there in the human body, despite all the previous characteristics, the human could neither build the mosque nor do many things that he can do now. An excellent example is the prayer, in which the human body utilizes every joint, choosing various postures of servitude. Therefore, when the Quran states that Allah has created human with His hands, meaning thereby with special care, there is no rational obstacle in accepting this statement. Those who deny God call humans advanced animals, and to provide a reason for all the superior human qualities, indiscriminately use the term evolution. This is not science, but a false philosophy that is entirely inadequate to provide a rational answer to this questions that if the human are merely advanced animals, why haven't those animals that are taken to be genetically close to humans succeeded in creating the world of civilization, culture, knowledge, and skills that humans have built in a very short period? This difference between humans and their so-called cousins exists even though they were physically present on this earth much before humans. If this human superiority results from his larger brain, then the question arises as to why other animals, especially the species of monkeys similar to humans or primates, do not have this bigger brain. So much so, compared to chimpanzees, with genes identical to humans up to 99%, the human brain is 3 times larger. Despite the uniformity of genes, the reason for such significant differences cannot be anything except that human is a special creation of God. The glorious Quran affirms that the human is present on this earth in accordance with God's test scheme. The God who not only built the entire universe but also made a special life-supporting system for humans to make this earth their abode. That same God has given humans the qualities for success in the test that are not found in any other creation. Many of these qualities result from his animalistic nature, such as hunger and sexual desire. Numerous attributes are due to the particular human form. The perfect of forms improved to perfection, such as standing upright, construction of hands and their freedom, absence of animal-like fur on the body, etc. Many qualities came into being as a consequence of breathing of life. Though breathing of life is a divine act, and understanding its reality is not possible. However, the Quran mentions the attributes that result from it. For example, he has a heightened sense of his persona larger than the animal self, extraordinary intellectual abilities, spirituality, the sense of good and evil, aesthetic sense, etc. When all these aspects of human personality are considered, it becomes clear that the human is a special creation who has been given birth for a test. In this test, despite his animalistic desires, he maintains the dignity of humanity. His conscience prepares him to live a godly and ethical life in accordance with the demands of good and evil. His inner self, shaped in the image of a miniature God, introduces him to the real creator of the universe. His spiritual existence remains in search of the creator of the universe. His mind and intellect analyze the self and heavenly signs and help him reach the truth. The ability to transform sensory knowledge into rational beliefs serves to show him the way to the hidden God. His appreciation for beauty establishes the eternal kingdom of paradise as his ideal. All these things together distinguish humans from animals. The outcome of these qualities is that humans, immediately after their emergence, triumphed over countless creatures present on Earth for billions of years and became the dominant force in dry and wet domains. Along with that test of the human began for which he was created. In the world where the human is undergoing this test, the final guidance for the human is that God has directly guided him through his words. According to the divine scriptures, the first 2 humans were Adam and Eve. They were those Homo sapiens possibly having survived after a significant catastrophe that occurred at some point in the past, who had become physically perfect. Life was breathed into them, and they became worthy of the honor of being addressed by God to guide them in the face of the greatest enemy of humanity. Who this great enemy of humanity is, and what the nature of guidance from God to humans is, we will discuss in the upcoming episodes of The Human Story. Until then, may Allah be your guardian.
सुना है अभी वहीं मेरे इंतजार में है सुना है अभी वहीं मेरे इंतजार में है जहाँ से तूने कहा था मुझे यहाँ से निकल जहाँ से तूने कहा था मुझे यहाँ से निकल जहाँ से तूने कहा था मुझे यहाँ से निकल मैं अपनी ज़ात से है शौक में आ